Okay, I've gone ahead and started the recording, and we have a quorum of members present.
Thank you, Ann. And as a reminder, we're no longer doing written notes, so we're relying on the recording. So if you speak, please introduce yourself, and then when you make motions, please state your name and make the motion as well. All right, with that, first up, Chairman's report. I don't have anything new, so I'll move right on to Daryl for Director's report. Daryl, we can't hear you.
Thank you. Is Daryl here?
Okay, I will get that straight one day. I am Daryl Willis, Auto Theft Authority Director. Mr. Chairman, members, good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin my presentation congratulating the Vehicle Theft Task Force on their Operation Escalating Switch. It's a fantastic case, and I won't steal Captain Graff's thunder, but I do want to thank him for including me in the case briefings and inviting me to the command post for the search warrants. He kept me updated on this case, and it did get a lot of great media coverage for the task force and the Auto Theft Authority. And I will defer to Captain Graff for the rest of the details, so I don't steal all his thunder. I did want to talk about the PISA conference last week. It was a great turnout. There were almost 300 attendees. For anyone unfamiliar with PISA, stands for Policía Internacional Sonora, Arizona. It was a coordination between Mexican law enforcement officials and American law enforcement officials. And the coordination is outstanding. It was a number of great presentations at the conference. Organization is very helpful in the repatriation of stolen vehicles from Mexico to Arizona. The Auto Theft Authority was a sponsor for this event. It occurred in Tucson, and I'd like to thank Ann for setting up and running our table. We had initiated a lot of great conversations with people on both sides of the border. We were able to give out a lot of Auto Theft Authority swag, and overall our participation was fantastic. And that included our analyst and ACT database expert, Mary Gu. She provided a demonstration on the ACT database and received a lot of outstanding reviews. I had a lot of people come up to me and tell me how great the presentation was, and there was a lot of interest in the ACT database. Everybody who saw the presentation wants to get on board and be able to use the database to see their local auto theft picture. So with that, I will give you the ACT database update. And what we want to do is keep that interest in the ACD database high. And I'm working with Mary currently. We're going to design a one-page bulletin. We want to distribute on a monthly basis. Bulletin's going to show the top stolen vehicles, as well as top theft locations and top recovery agencies. So each month we'll show a little heat map, a little hotspot of different areas around the state. To show people where local hotspots are, and then it'll give them an example of some of the information they can pull out of the database. Then it'll have links on how to join the database and where to get help if they need it on the database. And we will have an example for you the next meeting on this. And like I said, it'll be a monthly bulletin we'll send out to anybody who's currently using the database, anyone who's told us that they are interested in the database, and then we're hoping to partner with the AATA too and have them use them as a pass-through to get our bulletin out statewide. And since our last meeting, we did make the payment to DPS for the ACT upgrades. As a reminder, DPS is currently working on updating the TOC, the talk list for Planet. Currently, Planet had the talk list, but only for DPS. So what we need to do is get DPS to send Planet the entire talk list and the emails associated with that. And when they have that, anybody with a talk number will be able to sign into the database and start pulling information. Other upgrades they're working on is making the recovery location mandatory, as well as we'll be importing miscellaneous data that agencies can put in there. And what the ACT data is showing us currently as we approach halfway through the year, we're still showing a 21% decrease in stolen vehicles from this time last year. And that is fantastic news. It's a great decrease. And last year we had a great decrease as well. And digging into the data a little deeper, we're finding that recoveries are only down 10%. Which means that we're recovering more of the vehicles that are stolen. And we're going to try to keep digging into those numbers to find out why that is. We've got an intelligence gap there. We don't know whether law enforcement is getting better at recovering vehicles, or possibly there is fewer vehicles going into Mexico because of the greater law enforcement presence that we've had at the border. And maybe a combination of those things. So we'll keep digging into those numbers and try to close some of those intelligence gaps as far as where the vehicles are going after they're stolen. But only being down 10% in recoveries with the 21% decrease in stolen vehicles, I think that's a great number. I think that's a big win for law enforcement in Arizona. And then I did want to just touch on a couple items that are coming up later on the agenda. First one is Glendale PD. They're requesting a grant amendment. Last year, we approved a grant for Glendale PD to install license plate reader on one of their unmarked vehicles. There's still $4,794 in that grant, and Glendale PD would like to amend the grant to allow for the purchase of 8 printers in detectives' vehicles in support of the license plate readers. The printers would allow for detectives to stay in the field and continue surveillance and investigations instead of driving into the office to print out items such as search warrant. And that item will be coming up later, and the Auto Theft Authority is in support of that. The second item I wanted to touch on is the DPS task force funding. Task force is currently funded at $4.452 million. While the agenda we sent out, we did expect an increase of that funding to $4.576 million. The latest budget talks at the Senate and the governor have put that number back at $4.52 million. However, they did put a provision at the end of the bill that allows ADOA to allocate an increase in expenditure authority to cover salary increases. DPS is expected to get a salary increase. I don't know what that number is. They said I think the latest budget has $10.9 million for all sworn state officers. So I'm not sure how that breaks down yet. So we're not sure what kind of raise DPS task force personnel are going to get, but there is a provision to, they're going to fund it to $4.452 million, and then they'll give us an automatic increase as that money gets funneled down to DPS task force personnel. So we'll be able to make them whole and not give them a budget shortfall there. Mr. Chairman, members, that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daryl. Not hearing any questions, so we will move on to the next item, which I believe is Frank. Financial update.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so as of June 1st, we had a fund balance of a little over 4.1 million. At the beginning of June, we did have a total revenue of $7.6 million. We did spend a lot of our ACT funding because of the increase to get CPI to do the enhancement for the ACT system. We're only having 14,000 of that appropriation go back to the fund balance, so that's really good to see. Appropriation for the operations of ATA, we have 210,000 remaining. We did spend $498,000, and in the expenditure plan, it will show how the auto theft authority did bring that number down. A big part of that is the ISA to the task force for 135. Local grants, as you can see, we have $32,706 to allocate, and I'll show how it's going to look on the expenditure plan, and then Ms. Armstrong will go into how those grants are going to be funded into who. Task force was fully paid for their appropriation, and we still have $1,400 for the Sims account. Any questions?
Frank?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. On that Sims account, we've been at that balance for like 8 years. And I know we tried spending it, then COVID canceled the conference. Is there a conference or something that we could get that spent?
I need to look at the law that has the Sims fund in it. We need to see that the conference has to be specifically revolving around metal management or theft management of metal. So I need to do some homework on that to see how we can utilize those funds and get rid of them. So I'll maybe work with our legislative liaison to research that a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
All right, moving on to my next item. Okay, cool. So this is our expenditure plan for FY25. As you could see, you could see that $135,000 was an ISA to DPS. That has actually already been taken care of, so they already have that money. And then you'll see that for the local grants, we have, for public awareness, we have a little over $3,700. For law enforcement grants, we have a little over $23,000. And then for professional development, we almost have $4,000. And then Mr. Armstrong will kind of break that all down on how that's going to be. We did purchase a new laptop for our PIO / ATA creator, Carrie. That is going to help her with producing social media content for ATA. So that's a really great purchase at the end of this year. So at the end of FY25, we are looking to have almost $4 million in our fund balance, where it's going to be $3,985,000 and change. So we're bringing that fund balance back up, and we're looking pretty good. Any questions on this expenditure plan? Okay, I'm not sure if it would be best to ask for approval now on this expenditure plan, or should we wait until Ms. Armstrong does the grants for the law enforcement subcommittee, from the law enforcement subcommittee?
I don't know if it matters. Well, yeah, let's do it after we do the grants.
Okay.
And that way, in case someone makes changes in the grants.
Perfect. And the last expenditure plan I have would be the FY26 expenditure plan. And this is pretty much just mirroring what FY25 was, based on we don't really have all the numbers from the governor's office regarding budget. So everything as of right now is exactly the same, with DPS getting the same what they received this budget year, same going to the vertical prosecutors. So nothing really changes. The only thing that I guess I could say would change is that, based off what Ann's going to show with the vertical prosecution grants, we are going to have less funding to grant out at the end for local grants, for like law enforcement grants or public awareness grants, because we wanted to give a little more money to some of the vertical prosecutors. So that number is a little less. It's 23,000 instead of 26,000. So that's the only thing that really has changed. So I'm confident to say, if we wanted to do a approval for the FY26 expenditure plan as it is, that should be fine.
Sounds good. You want to do that after the grants as well? We'll just do
Yeah.
both 25 and 26. Okay.
Yep. Perfect. So that's all I have to report. Is there any questions? Well, hearing none, I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Frank. All right, next up is Ann with Public Awareness and Grant Programs.
All right. share my screen here. Mr. Chair, members, we are closing out the fiscal year 25 grants and making sure those are all closed out and all funds have been expended. I'm also prepping for the new end of year fiscal year 25 grants, which we'll go over in just a little bit, as well as the fiscal year 26 vertical prosecution and task force grants. So that includes, after this meeting, we'll be issuing contracts, and once those come back, issuing the payments for those. So let's see, the outreach since campaigns and public outreach since our last board meeting. Hope everyone can see my screen. As Daryl mentioned, we released the most current at a glance, which featured lots of great statistics run from our ACT database and obtained from our grantees on their stats. So some great information. This at a glance is also available PDF format on our website. So anybody that wants to download that and distribute it, feel free to do so. We had this also at our PISA conference last week. So we were able to distribute a lot of those and refer folks to our website to download as needed. With the at a glance, we also produced several social media campaigns, repurposing the slides from the at a glance, showing trends from 1992 to 2024 for auto thefts in Arizona. Arizona cities ranked nationally. Nice graph on that. We also have the top 10 stolen vehicle makes and models incorporated, as well as our vertical prosecution most current stats. Campaigns also focused on the hot temperatures coming and reminding folks to not leave their vehicles running and unattended, always locking their vehicles even while at home, securing their property. I want to thank Tyler Danner and Carrie O'Brien for assistance with all of these campaigns and graphics. Some more reminders about the weather heating up and not leaving your vehicle running and unattended. Some nice graphics. And then, as Daryl mentioned, we had the PISA conference last week, which was a great opportunity. Daryl may have mentioned they had close to 300 attendees present, and we were able to distribute all sorts of great giveaways. As Daryl mentioned, we were a sponsor and had lots of good branding and engagement at the conference, recognizing our support. It's a picture from opening ceremonies, and Director Willis was up there and represented the agency, which was great. Great conference by all. I also want to thank Mary Gu, our analyst, for presenting on the ACT database. Right. And that concludes my presentation on our campaigns and our grants. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief Ticer, any updates on the administrative subcommittee?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, no update. We have not met since the last meeting.
Thank you, Chief. All right, next up is myself with the law enforcement subcommittee report. We're going to go over the FY24 Glendale PD grant modification request. Ann or Daryl, who is going to summarize that?
I can summarize that.
If you could, please.
Yeah, thank you. And Daryl also provided a brief recap on that as well. So as you all know, this time last year, we funded a grant for Glendale PD for $20,000 to purchase a license plate reader for one of their undercover vehicles. We approved that grant. They went off and spent that grant and had a small balance of just a little over $4,700, almost $4,800. And with that, as Director Willis presented, they want to purchase 8 printers and associated accessories for their 2 different precincts in Glendale. So staff supports their request. Even after their purchase, they will have less than $500 still coming back to the agency, as well as all paid invoices and receipts that we'll require. So unless there are any questions, we can entertain a motion.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to approve the Glendale grant modification request in the amount of $4,794.11?
So moved, Joe Dedman.
Thank you, Sheriff Dedman. Second, anyone?
Bill Johnson, second.
Was that Bill Johnson?
Yes, Chief.
Thank you, sir. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, thank you. Next up is our FY25 law enforcement training grant requests. We have 5 to go over. We do not have any conflicts of interest with these 5, so we can review them all, and then we'll make a motion at the end unless someone wants one pulled off to the side. Go ahead, Dan.
Right. Thank you, Chief. So as we've discussed, we had a little over 32,000 available for year-end grants, and our goal is to always prevent sending any money back to the fund balance as best we can. I'll start off with Apache Junction Police Department. Their request was for $12,000 for a license plate camera in their city. As you all know, we funded a grant for an LPR for them last year. They've had some great results, and we want to continue to offer them assistance. Subcommittee recommendation when we met last week is to fully fund the project at $12,000. Next up, we have Florence Police Department. Their grant request was for a public awareness prevention campaign in their jurisdiction. Staff was excited to see a request come in for a prevention campaign. They have a great plan in place. They will also be distributing some steering wheel locks that we were able to put them in touch with Hyundai Corporation to receive those for free. So we were able to reduce their grant by $440 once they're able to receive those free grants or free steering wheel locks from Hyundai. So staff and subcommittee recommendation was for $3,721. Peoria Police Department, their request is to send 2 detectives to the Western States Auto Theft Investigators Seminar, and staff and subcommittee recommendation is to fully fund their grant to send those officers. We also have Daryl Willis, Director Willis, who will be attending the WASATI conference, so it'd be nice to have some additional Arizona representation there. Phoenix Police Department grant request is for $5,200 for grappler replacement nets. These nets, this grappler vehicle is on a special assignment vehicle that only go out on call-outs and call-outs that are specific to stolen vehicle and stolen vehicle pursuits. So we will be able to obtain some stats on that grant to see how many of those nets were used to stop or apprehend a stolen vehicle pursuit. Last up is Tonto Apache Police Department. This is for a tribal agency that we're excited to be able to offer a grant to. They requested $12,000 for 2 flock safety cameras. Staff and subcommittee recommendation is to fund one of those cameras at $6,000, which will be placed on Highway 87 coming in and out of the Payson area. So in total, all 5 grant requests, a total of $30,891, just leaves us a little balance left on that balance. So I think it was $1,815. So we were able to spend or able to recommend all but $1,815 for these 5 grants. Any questions on the individual grants?
Just clarifying, I'm looking at the spreadsheet. So the total request is $30,891 because I think the recommendation on the agenda shows $32,706.
I think that might have just been what was available. So,
okay.
So award
the
exceed 32,706.
Okay.
Helps.
So can we get a motion to approve the grant funding of 32,706.
So moved.
Sheriff Dedman, thank you. We get a second?
Eric Axland, DPS, second.
Thank you, Eric. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next up is the FY26 vertical prosecution grant request.
Great. All right. Mr. Chair, we received 6 grant requests for fiscal year 26 vertical prosecution grants. We have $362.92 available. Same amount as last year. We have put in for budget increases and we're unsuccessful this year. So we'll keep all the grants at the same amount. We do have one recusal that'll be from Maricopa County Attorney's Office. I can go through each of them and we can approve the 5 of them and then just do Maricopa County separately, if that
Yep,
works.
that sounds good. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
La Paz County staff or grant request was 132, 137. Subcommittee recommendation is to fully fund their prosecutor. Mojave County Attorney's Office, 151,456 request. Subcommittee recommendation is to fully fund that request, 151,456. Pima County Attorney's Office, 311,709 is their request. Subcommittee recommendation is to fully fund that request. Pinal County Attorney's Office, their grant request was for 394,967. Staff is keeping all of these agencies basically at the same level except for Maricopa County, who will be able to fully fund this year. So Pinal County staff subcommittee recommendation is 340,218. Santa Cruz County is a 75% of a prosecutor. Their request is 80,794. Subcommittee recommendation is to fully fund that at 80,794.
Thank you, Ann. Any questions on any of the grants? All right, if we could have a motion to approve the La Paz, Mojave, Pima, Pinal, and Santa Cruz grants.
Chief Tyser, make a motion to do that.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief Tyser. Do we have a second?
Brad Conley, second.
Thank you, Brad. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, Sheriff. Any opposed? All right. Now the 5th one or last one, if we get a motion to approve the Maricopa vertical prosecution grant, the amount of $291,399. And Leslie, if you could recuse yourself officially.
This is Andrew Foss.
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
No, that's totally fine. This is Andrew Foss. I'm recusing myself because MCO stands to gain financially from this.
Thank you, Andrew. All right.
Mr. Chair,
All those. Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I can just correct, their grant is for 349,042.
Sorry, I was reading the wrong line.
Okay.
Thank you. 349,042.
And as Frank mentioned, we're able to fully fund that grant request if we reduce the fiscal year 26 local grants by 5,000, approximately 5,000. So we're really excited to be able to fully fund them this year.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the Maricopa County Attorney's grant? All right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, I'm getting another call. Okay. So we're good. That one passes. Next up is the task force grant. Ann?
Mr. Chair, task force grant request this year was for $5,898,000. Staff, as Frank has mentioned and Director Willis has mentioned, the task force grant is line itemed by appropriation, and so it looks like they'll be at the same level as last year, $4,452,600, and with potential for those budget increases to be funded later. So staff and subcommittee recommendation is to keep them at the $4,452,600.
Thank you. Any
And
discussion on this?
We will need a recusal from Major Axland.
Yes.
As Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Eric Axon, there's a Department of Public Safety. I recuse myself because DPS stands to gain financially from this action item.
Thank you, Major. Any further discussion? If not, if we get a motion to approve the DPS task force grant.
Brad Conley, motion to approve.
Thank you, Brad. Can we have a second?
Bill Johnson, second.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, we can go back now and approve, or can we get a motion to approve the FY25? Can we do them together? Yeah, we'll do them separate. FY25 spending plan. If we get a motion for that, please.
Eric
Brad
Axon.
Conley, motion.
All right, you got Eric Axon first, Brad Connolly second.
Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Now for the FY26 spending plan, could we get a motion to approve that, please?
Bill Johnson, motion.
Thank you, Bill.
Brad Conley, second.
Brad Connolly second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. Those both pass. And do we have anything else in your?
No, that
Oh,
concludes
that's it.
our grant presentation until next year.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Chief Ticer, Public Awareness Subcommittee.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Vertical Prosecution Subcommittee and Auto Theft Prosecutors Report. And if you would like to lead whoever's here.
Sure. I know we've got several folks on the phone. I'll go ahead and start with Andrew Foss from Maricopa County Attorney's Office. He's filling in for Leslie Lemens today.
Yes, I don't have any major updates since Leslie isn't here, but I do want to thank everyone for their effort for Operation Escalating Switch. I know is a huge effort, and we want to thank everyone and their involvement in that. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts with that. We're currently reviewing that right now. Jeff Duvendak is reviewing everything. There's a lot of documents to go through and sort through, and we're hoping to get that moving along the way. So hopefully we'll get everything finalized with that. Other than that, we just want to thank everyone for their effort.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. I know we also have Shauna Bresma from La Paz County on the phone. I don't know if the prosecutor's also available. If you have any updates, Shauna.
Hi, good morning. I do not have my prosecutor available. I do have an update. Our prosecutor has currently been working with California authorities to address a problem with stolen dirt bikes. And we currently have a case that a defendant made a payment plan where he was payment plan with a buyer of a motorcycle that I'll give you the title on the last payment. As soon as the last payment was made, we bought the bike from a dealer on consignment and the title's lost. So the purchaser of the bike took it to our local sheriff's office, confirmed it was stolen. And so now they're working to do prosecution on the case.
Great. Thank you, Shauna. Appreciate it. We also have Cameron Pat from Pinal County Attorney's Office. He's still on the line.
Yes. Hello, Chairman and members. I'm Cameron Pat, the auto theft prosecutor for the Pinal County Attorney's Office. We've been having much more focus on restitution and making victims whole at the Pinal County Attorney's Office. I'm proud to report not this quarter, but last quarter, between January and March, we secured almost $250,000 in restitution orders in Pinal County, which is pretty substantial and significant for our small county. I think it's probably the largest. If everything goes on track, there should be a significant sentence on June 30th of a serial burglar who broke into about 9 houses. Each house he went into, he was stealing.
Oh, we might have just lost you, Cameron.
Oh, I'm still here. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This serial burglar and serial auto thief, he would break into these houses, find the spare keys, and steal the vehicles out of the house. If everything goes according to plan on June 30th, he'll be sentenced hopefully to 25 years and have a restitution order of over $170,000 for all of the crimes he's committed against 19 victims. That's pretty much our most significant case right now, but our office's current goal, at least in auto theft, is secure as much restitution as possible and make as many victims whole as possible while deterring offenders in our community from committing these crimes. Thank you for your time, Chairman and members.
Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it. I'll follow up with you in the next couple of weeks, Cameron, because that might be a great case for us to highlight on one of our next Auto Theft Authority newsletters. So I'll reach out to you after the meeting.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Anyone else from vertical prosecution on the phone? And maybe we have Maribel Goodman. She's still on the phone from Pima County. Maybe not. Anyone else? Right.
Now?
Yes. Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Maribel.
Good morning, chairman and members. My name is Maribel Goodman. As Ms. Armstrong mentioned, I am a vertical prosecutor in Pima County. I'm sorry, I kind of stepped away from my desk and I just came back and I heard Mr. Pat providing information referencing a case. And again, I do apologize, I stepped away and I just got back. I must have missed the first portion. And please guide me if we are providing information referencing a case, or what are you inquiring from me right now? I'm sorry.
Oh, just if you have any significant cases that have concluded since we last met, or anything specific happening with your county.
We have, I'm trying to think of one of the cases, one of many. We had one individual. There is this one I think I'll highlight, as there are multiple agencies involved. We had Rio Rico law enforcement involved, as that's where the original theft of the truck took place. We also have TPD who initiated and located the vehicle, and then thirdly, we have, most importantly as well, we have the task force who are within that in communication with the other agencies, was able to surveillance the vehicle. We were able to have this individual held accountable actually with it this week. He had a history of auto theft while he stole this vehicle and traveled through different jurisdictions. We were finally able to locate him. He was actually on parole when he committed this new theft, and his parole conviction was also involving an auto theft case. So he was sentenced this past week for 3 years in the Department of Corrections. He had already killed his number that he was on parole for. Nonetheless, at that point, at very minimum, he was held accountable. We have the victim who was also ordered restitution. Unfortunately, because of the percentage, but at least at very minimum, that will be a reminder for the defendant while he's serving time in prison that 35%, it's something that is going to be removed from his books, and it will be a reminder of the collateral consequences of the economic harm that he caused to the victim.
Great. Thank you so much, Maribel.
Thank you.
All right. I believe that concludes all those presentations.
Thank you. Next up is the Arizona Vehicle Theft Task Force update from Captain Graff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, member of the board. So I'll start out with some of the stats for this reporting period. These are going to be the stats for stolen vehicles, drug seizures, and arrests. This is going to cover April 1 through May 31. I will talk about the operation that we just got done with, but those numbers aren't going to be included in this one. The task force recovered 262 stolen vehicles valued at approximately $5.4 million. We made 48 arrests. 12 of those 48 had drug charges. The task force seized approximately 104 grams of meth and 3.6 grams of fentanyl. We served, during this 2-month period, we served 5 residential or business search warrants and 11 electronic search warrants. We had 2,582 requests from other agencies for assistance, and we seized 1 weapon. Our staffing level right now, we're progressing in the right direction. The testing process is in full swing for Oro Valley. They're expected to join the task force the 1st or 2nd week of July. They just got done with their oral boards and they're making their selection now. Goodyear PD is at the final stages of approval and should be joining in the coming weeks as well. So a couple of good cases during this period. On June 12th, we were alerted of the location of a stolen rental car from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Our detectives went out and conducted surveillance on the car for a little bit, and we watched 3 suspects drive it to a second location. There were 2 other stolen cars parked. While they were doing surveillance, a little bit later, a transport truck arrived and loaded all 3 cars onto the back of it. And this is one of those 1-ton trucks with the trailer that cars can sit on. They let the truck go and they stopped it a little bit a ways away, and they were able to recover all 3 cars. They were all rentals. They were all rented with fake IDs and fake credit cards that were skimmed. The cars were actually being shipped to Riverside, California, and the driver was being paid $900 to transport them. We don't believe the trucking company was involved in the case at all. He was just a transporter they hired. But all 3 suspects were arrested, and the investigation is still going on because they got to find out exactly how many cars they can tie them to for vehicles that they've rented and everything else. So there's tons of video that they have to go through with Enterprise and their partner companies. So, as I'm sure you all saw in the news this week, we ended a long-term operation for, the escalating switch is the name of the operation. I'm sorry, I just drew a blank on that for no reason at all. So, in November of 24, we were alerted to a possible VIN switch Cadillac Escalade. Detectives were able to identify the vehicle as stolen, positively identify it. When they started digging into the owner of the vehicle that had it registered, it came back to a AAA luxury rentals. So we looked into AAA luxury rentals, and we discovered he had about 34, 35 cars registered under that LLC, and they were being rented out on the Turo platform. So I will tell you that Turo, working with Turo is an amazing experience. They have their safety officers that are actually former HSI agents, so they were very cooperative with us, and they were giving us information on where the cars are at, whether they're being rented, how much our suspect's making. He identified the owner of the suspects. They were able to identify other people that he gave permission to run his account, so we were able to identify everybody through that. They're great partners to have. So at the end of the operation, we recovered so far 29 of the vehicles, all VIN switched, and they're all high-end luxury cars. I have some photos I'll share in just a second. The vehicles are valued at about $2.5 million. We did 6 simultaneous search warrants at 6 different locations on Tuesday morning. We had well over 100 people involved in the operation. It went so smooth, it was almost unreal. We did seize 6 vehicles that we believe were purchased with ill-gotten gains. We got $41,000 in cash and 21 weapons, including a .50 caliber Barrett rifle. All 3 of our targeted suspects were arrested. And for income off the Turo rentals, just this calendar year from January 1 until the 17th, when we executed the search warrant, Turo reported that he has $160,000 in rental fees that he's made off of these stolen vehicles. And of course, the money is, we have ties to the Middle East because he's sending money to the Middle East, where he admitted that he has another rental business in Dubai. So there's money going to the Middle East. There's money going to Iraq. He does have a cartel connection because we have a person coming from Mexico coming up to his house to perform the VIN switches and then going back down into Mexico after it's over. So there's going to be some spin-off investigations with this, and some of them on the federal level, some of them on our level. So a couple of things that we have coming up. We have a local auto theft ring that's being operated here in Phoenix, and my case detectives from Escalating Switch are going to switch over to this one because this is actually a spinoff of Escalating Switch. The majority of Escalating Switch's cars were stolen from out of state and brought into Arizona. In this case, I hate to say it like this, but the lower end cars that were coming from Phoenix, this is the ring that was taking them. So these guys are going to start working them. We also have another case that there's a forged dealership plates, the blue dealership plates. There's some forged ones, and they're appearing on several vehicles. One of the vehicles that we stopped at that plate was actually a VIN switched Dodge Charger Hellcat, and it was VIN switched to be a regular Dodge Charger. So when we looked it up in the license plate reader, that same plate was read on 5 different cars within an hour of each other in 5 different parts of the valley. So obviously that plate's being duplicated and used on stolen vehicles. So we're going to start working that too. And to talk back about Director Willis's thing about vehicles heading south in the Pima border squads, they're actually coming up with a plan to deter some of that because they have a lot of Jeeps and stuff heading south of the border, like within hours of getting stolen. So they're actually developing a plan to intercept more. As soon as they come up with that plan, I talked to my 2 sergeants down there 2 days ago, and they were starting to work on this plan. So as soon as that comes to fruition, I'll let you guys know what that is and keep you in the loop. But what I will do now is I'll show you, and I'm sure some of you or most of you have seen the news already, but I will show you some of the pictures. If it lets me. I'm assuming you guys can see it now, maybe? Come on now. Share. That better?
Something's happening. Let's see.
Yep.
There you go.
So here's the picture of our main suspect. And this is, so when we served these search warrants, we actually brought our department camera crews out with us. So it helps with they don't get in the way. They're trained, so it's nice to have them out there, people that are trained to go out there with us on the warrant. But this is the one warrant where our main suspect and his girlfriend were taken into custody. Ironically, this car right here that my mouse is hovering over, that Aston Martin, is one of the highest value cars that we recovered. It's about a $260,000 car, and it was parked right in front of his house. So these are at the tow yard. There's the Aston Martin again. These are just some of the cars that we recovered. We got 2 G-Wagons, several BMWs, a nice Corvette. It's a pretty car. So this is at the tow yard again. This is after we were going through and getting the true VINs and removing all of the fictitious VINs and such, so we can get them released to the companies that own them. This is one of the vehicles that is not stolen, but we seized, and it's a Rolls-Royce Ghost. And these are the weapons and the cash. Yes, all the weapons are gold plated, of course, because why wouldn't they be? So
I
that's
believe-
what
Congrats.
So right
Susan has
now-
a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Susan Trask has a question, possibly for you, Captain. Go ahead, Susan.
Actually, it was more of an add-on to that investigation because we also have a third party that has a CSR that was also taking bribes to title them. So it goes a little bit further. Yes.
Yeah, that all of the vehicles, every single one of the vehicles that this guy registered went through the same third party clerk. And in his interview, he told us that while they didn't have a prearranged deal set up, after he'd register the car, he'd get a $200, Venmo from our target suspect. So that sounds like a bribe to me. I'm just, I'm not an attorney, but it sounds like a bribe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good case, and it took a long time to work this case, but everything got nailed down right, and the guys did it right, and we had a great corporate partner with Turo. I can't speak highly enough of those guys.
So we are still waiting for OIG to give us the go because we wanted to actually look at those transactions to see, what they look like, to see if anyone else would have caught those. Because it sounded like some of those might have tried to go through one of our offices and we didn't accept it.
So one of the things that the clerk had mentioned in his interview is that the certificates of origin, because some of them had certificates of origin instead of titles, and he goes, you could tell the difference between a real one and a fake one. And when we were looking at the ones that he had, we were like, yeah, that is obviously a fake certificate of origin, obviously. But yeah, so it would be a good pop for OIG to work into that too, because there's no way it happened without them knowing.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a major win, and the media coverage for the Auto Theft Authority, for the task force, and all of our partner agencies is just tremendous.
Yeah, really was. Nice job.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good. So yeah, excellent job. I think you said it took a long time, but I think you said it started in November. So that's actually pretty quick for that amount of work. So good job.
Thank you.
Good to see that. Next up, we have a call to the public. Is there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Hearing none. Reports on current events, matters of board procedure. Anything additional? All right, our next meeting is set for Friday, September 19th, 2025 at 10 a.m. If you have a conflict, please let Daryl or Ann know as soon as possible. With that, if I could get a motion to adjourn.
Brad Conley, motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Brad, and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Chair Bedman. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Have a good weekend, everybody.
You
Appreciate
too.
it. See
Thank
you in
you.
September.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.